Anyway, so we're working on the GSX150R2, and what I've done right now is I put a ground bolt into the basically into the frame. I just drilled it through with the drill and drill bits. I believe this was a 1/2" bit. Oh, this happens to be a 15/32 bit. So I use a 15/32 bit, and I just drilled a bolt that I have. I have a box of bolts and washers and stuff that I saved, and just a bunch of other random stuff that I have in my little ammo box. You can see there's some rusted stuff. This old rust, you can see not everything else is rusted, because these actually have a little rubber seal on there for the ammo boxes. So I have a bunch of them, 3 or 4 of them, that I saved for this very reason. But what ended up happening was the key, I believe, was left on. Just now I did it because my little makeshift nut for the key holder was not working. And so for whatever reason, my battery charge right now is only reading so I put this bolt in here and make it a ground. So now I can just get my negative cable. You can see a minus sign on there. I can get my negative cable and just strap it on there, not have to worry about it. Put it on this side, I put it on here. There's no difference between putting it here or even here. Any piece of metal that you can touch. This is not grounded because it's a piece of plastic, so this is not a good spot. But this bolt right here is grounded. That piece of metal is grounded. All this stuff is grounded. This piece of metal is grounded. And so it says grounded because literally the negative cable to the battery is touching the metal itself. So I can't really see it here. Oh, look at this. This is tripped too. So that's why I'm not getting any power. This was tripped. You see that? So it was tripped. Awesome. Now I'm getting full amperage to it. That was the whole point of having this piece here, is to make sure that we have a good safety measure so that we don't burn down the car. But again, any piece of metal that you can see in general is grounded. All this metal is grounded. I'm gonna tighten that with that loose. I didn't assemble this thing. That one bolt is loose, but the idea is you don't have to overstretch it. So you get your negative, you put it there. You get your positive, you put it here. And you heard that beep? It's this device beeping now. So let's see what our power level is, because I was reading basically 0. I got my little jump box, and I'll just put it here for now. And I'm going to put my positive probe into the positive terminal, which I just clipped in here, opened up the gator and put it in there. And then my negative probe, wherever it may have fallen, it looks like it fell right here, is going to be here. Let's see what we have. Boom, 12.6. I don't know if you can see that. 12.6 volts. There, 12.7. So our battery's actually charging really well. I'm going to clamp it right in here. Let's see if I can just go ahead and put the probe in the background. You can see it right. Probe here. I'll just get the alligator clamp. And I can't do it now. Well, it's fantastic that we tripped the fuse over there. But that's the whole point of this little box here, is just to have an access point to be able to hook up your jumper cables. You don't have to go anywhere else. You can do it from the front of the vehicle, and you don't have to worry about it. If you want to see what your voltage is, you can use this positive. I kind of sprayed it all just one color. We're still at 12.7. It didn't make sense that this thing was left on. Actually, I thought it was at 9.6, but the key was not in there, so the key cannot be in there and be left on at the same time. So if it's left on, then you'll have power going to the ignition system, and if it's in a grounded mode, then you'll just drain the battery. But so like one of these little jump boxes where you have to turn it on right there, and you see that those blue lights, and if you hold it long enough, you hold this button long enough, it'll turn on this light. And then we have our charging port. It says it here. This one says input, where this top one says output. This one says USB output and USB output, so you can charge your phone off of this thing too. So it's a battery pack for charging your phone, and it's a jumper pack for jumping your vehicle. You can see the little car right there, which is really good. This is an older model now. I've had it about 2 years at least, maybe a little longer. This happens to be a 15 amp model Q10S 1500 amp. There we go. So now I can hook up my jumper cables to this ground bolt and bring this in right here. Can't do this with one hand, so let me put you down. There we go. Now it's happy, and you'll see the screen. It's not red. I don't know if you heard the clicking. Boom. But it's charging the battery. Actually, it's not charging the battery until I push this. So it's super happy. Let's see what our voltage is. Oh, dang it. The probe fell. So let's just see. 14.7 volts. Look at that. You hear the clicking? It's off. 13.4 volts. So we just charged the battery a little bit. And we're at 13.4 volts as far as the internal battery on this device, which I showed you in the back. So that's what this cable is for. I got my ground, which is actually right here. It's just clamped on, like I said, to a piece of metal. But that ground is not necessary. So if you wanted to clamp, it is attached to the battery. So this is a natural ground straight to the battery, but also it's grounded itself to the ground, which is the body. So it's just a giant loop. There's no difference between touching this and touching this, or touching this any piece of random metal on this cart. All metal except for this stuff, obviously, because it's attached to plastic, is considered ground. This is not attached to the ground, so that's not ground. But all this stuff is ground. All this stuff is ground. But anyways, the whole point that I just spent the last 2 hours putting this bolt through here and that little battery pack on here was to ensure that it's easy to jump this thing in the event that the battery dies. I spray paint it, but because it's rubber, the vinyl paint is just peeling right off. So that sucks. But as far as I'm concerned, the battery pack is a success. Like I said, we got a ground here, looks really ugly, so maybe down the road we can spray paint it or something. But for now, you just move this around, touch this voltage positive, it's red positive, and put the other cable here, which is negative or black ground, and just attach it. Boom, boom, and it's done. Also, just FYI, technically you can use this Go Cart when it's running to jump any vehicle, because you saw that it is 14 volts when it's fully charged, and it was 12.7 when it's just sitting here. So let's just check that again. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Boom. So we're at 12.8 actually, if you can see that. We're actually at 12.8. Oh, well, screen kind of dimmed on me. Maybe my battery's dead. I don't know what's going on. There we go. There we go, 12.8. Negative, because I'm switched around here. My red is touching the ground and my black is touching the positive, but it doesn't matter. You just see the negative sign here on the left of the screen. That's all that matters. So anyways, we're at 12.8 on our voltage. And so just to show you that there's no difference between this little Go Kart battery and the car battery. We're going to touch this here. So the only difference is the cold cranking out. It's a 630 cold cranking amps, 62 amp hours. So the 62 amp hour battery, the battery I put in there typically is a 3 amp hour battery, but I put a 12 amp hour battery in there because I don't want my baby to have any problems getting started or whatnot when she's out and about. And hopefully the battery doesn't die on her, leaving lights on or something to that effect. So all I did here was attach my positive and negative probes to the appropriate places. I happen to have these little battery protectors, red and green, but you can see there it's a negative. And you can see here that positive right there. So red is always positive, and black or green is generally always ground or negative. And so our battery is reading at 11.1. So I have it attached to the battery over here, and hopefully it's touching. So I happen to have this just again to any random piece of metal. It's just to any random piece of metal. But this matters. This has to be to actual positive. So that happens to be the positive point. And there's a red cap here with a little red positive on the top too. So you flip this over, you attach your jumper cable there, and you're good. Generally you want to wait. It's a good idea just to wait about 2 minutes to let it charge. And this one happens to be on already. You can see that, and we have stuff on the dashboard there. So let's see if it'll actually start. Oh, maybe the battery is low. There we go. Let's start it again. I'll turn the AC on. Yes, and the battery did start. Good. It's a Prius, so unfortunately it's not always running. Oh, what I was gonna do is show you the voltage now. Yeah, we're at 13.5. 13.5. Again, this is a 62 amp hour battery. The one on the Go Cart's a 12. This provides 630 cold cranking amps. And I don't know what the RC stands for, reserve cranking amps. I don't know. So once this thing is on and running, this actually produces 14 amps. It's got a magneto on it that'll just give pulses of electricity, and you can collect those pulses in the battery. Anyways, that's enough about that. The battery works, the lights work. Unfortunately, you know, this little thing was held on with a little plastic nut on the back, and I think the nut broke, so it's loose. So just have to be careful with it. I don't think it'll fall out because the nuts on the backside and the wires are connected, so it may dangle, but that little thing will never fall out. It can be broken, obviously, so we would hope that we're just careful with it. I still need to adjust the reverse cable on this. That's why I have it up in the air. I need to get in there and adjust this cable. It's got a couple of adjustment points in there. This is loose too, so I'll tighten that down. But this here cable can go in or out, which would allow you to adjust the reverse cable. Also, there's another adjustment over here, which does the same thing. You can move the cable in or out, and of course, the further out you put it, the further you extend the cable and make it tighter. So when you move it, when you pull it, you see how it pulls it in? Pulls right in. So it makes it tighter, and it moves stuff over here. Let me turn the vehicle off. There you go. There's no reason to have that on. So, oh, let's see what your thoughts are. Oh no, it just broke. That sucks. Well, shoot. I was thinking about putting this thing right here. Oof, very flimsy for a Mercedes, huh? Doesn't fit perfectly with that piece that just broke off, darn it. It's basically, I wasn't end up putting it. Huh. I'll put it on there and let my kids decide if they want to keep it or not. Maybe I'll cut this side just to make it even with this side, or just cut it right here and zip tie it in. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. And again, just let my kids decide if they like that or not. I know my son's pretty into cars, so I'm sure he understands that symbol there. And that should do it. All right, I'll just keep going. I need to get that reverse set up. Put all my tools away for this area here, and we'll just keep going. Thanks for watching. Bye.